Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Hello Again with me, Isabelle Broom. It's very, very excited today to be joined by Helly Acton, author of amazing debut, The Shelf, which if you follow me on social media, you would have seen me tweeting about how much I loved it a few weeks ago when I read it in a deck chair in the sunny garden. And yeah, I've been poking at you on Twitter ever since, desperate to get you to come and chat about it. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so delighted.
No, it's lovely to see you. Do you want to start by telling us a little bit about who you are and a little bit about The Shelf as well, for those who have been hiding under a rock and don't know?
Sure. So I'm Helly Acton, and I'm the author of my debut, The Shelf, which came out in July this year. And The Shelf is really a story. It's a fun take on society's, a few of society's obsessions. So the coupling up and the settling down, finding the one. And it's also about our obsession with reality TV too. So sort of the two blend in the book. And it follows Amy, our protagonist, who thinks that her long-term boyfriend, Jamie, is about to pop the big question because he's taking her on this dream holiday in a limo, and she's getting really excited about it. But instead of going to the airport, he actually dumps her on the set of a really savage new reality show called The Shelf. And he dumps her in public, in front of the viewers. And she is then joined by 5 other women contestants who have also been dumped, and they have to compete against each other in a series of sexist challenges on the show to prove their womanly worth and to be crowned the keeper in the show finale and win £1 million. But instead of sort of fighting against each other, they decide to sort of club together and rewrite the show rules. So that's it really in a nutshell.
It's amazing. Every time I hear you talk about what it's about, I get that moment where, and he just dumps her on a TV show and you just go, oh, like every time it has the same effect on me. It's just like a
I
dagger.
know. Well, that's what I intended, actually. I intended it to be like, oh no, it's the worst thing that could ever happen. And that's really where the idea of The Shelf stemmed from, is what one of the questions that sort of triggered the idea was, what's the worst thing that could happen to you on reality television?
I kept when I wrote it, I wish I wrote it. When I read it, I kept thinking, God, this could actually happen though. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if you switched on sort of Channel 4 or E4 or one of these channels and that was actually happening in real life.
Yeah, definitely. I can really imagine it. I mean, I can imagine it as a drama series. I can imagine it as an actual show.
Yeah.
I don't know. Should I feel guilty if that ever happened? I don't know.
No.
Would it be terrible? It's such a dilemma in my head, because in a way, it's great that these relationships, some of them, I'm not going to give too much away, end, because they were obviously terrible for them, and they find themselves, and that's great. But also, it's a terrible idea for a show as well, because it's really quite brutal.
So no one's been knocking to buy the concept off you, have they?
It's been optioned for TV as a drama series. Not as an actual reality show yet. But yeah, no, it's been optioned for TV by Monumental Pictures, who've just finished Caitlin Moran's How to Build a Girl.
Wow.
Yeah, so, but I mean, it doesn't mean it's going to happen, like, fingers crossed, and it's very early stages. I've seen some script work and stuff, which is really exciting. But
that's really exciting.
We'll
sounds
see.
like it's quite far forward already. Usually they sort of languish, don't they, for years, and then sometimes options run out.
I don't know. It must be quite I think bringing together writing teams and stuff must be quite a big task. So yeah, fingers crossed. That would be amazing if that happened. I'd love to see it.
Definitely. And reality shows are just utterly bonkers, aren't they? I mean, I'm currently obsessed with Married at First Sight Australia, but just the concept of marrying a total stranger, I mean, it's utterly mad, isn't it?
I have a love-hate relationship with some reality shows. Like, I love some of them, I hate some of them, and I really struggle with Married at First Sight, because I'm so against the idea of it, because it's I mean, if there's that, is real pressure to find the one, isn't it? It's like our ultimate goal is marriage, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So I do what, and I did the Australian version. I did get sucked into that a few weeks ago, because it's so easy.
It is the best one.
Yeah,
I think it's because they come back together each week, don't they? And they have those explosive dinner parties where they're all passag and
I know,
that's amazing.
talking about explosive dinner parties, I can't believe I've waited this long, but I've just started watching The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Oh,
Have you ever watched that?
No.
That is bonkers. That is dinner party after dinner party. And they're all supposed to be friends. They're all so mean to each other.
Amazing.
Yeah. But I mean, for me, like reality show, it's just an escape. It's like a bit of bubblegum for the brain. Like there's a lot of grim things happening in the world, and certainly over the last 6 months it's been really quite gloomy, hasn't it? And I just find that reality TV, with a pinch of salt, can just it offers me that chance to just like unwind and like get out of work mode and just not watch something that's too taxing on the brain.
I think Married at First Sight came along and just scooped up all the Love Island people, because we were all waiting for, obviously, like geared up for Love Island, and then it didn't happen, obviously.
Yeah.
And that just filled that sort of every evening switch your brain off for an hour gap.
Yeah, totally. And other things like Selling Sunset as well. That's been a good one. Good fix.
I've heard a lot about that. I haven't dipped a toe yet. I'll get too sucked in and I'm on deadline, so I've got to wait.
Wait, have it as a treat afterwards.
It was so refreshing when I was reading The Shelf to read a book that sort of begins with a relationship ending, and that sort of final thing happening being the catalyst for something so positive to come out of it. Because quite often with women's fiction, it's the other way around, and it's all about somebody in a low point who finds love, and it's that kind of romantic love that sets them on their path, which I guess is, I write that kind of book sort of as well. But did you sort of set out with that in mind, or did that sort of come as you sort of peel back the idea for the show?
It was always my intention to write a book about self-love, and it was always my intention to subvert the finding the one message in the book that I wrote. I mean, that idea didn't come before the idea for The Shelf. I had the idea for The Shelf first, and then I thought, actually, wouldn't it be wonderful if then basically the whole thing was turned around, so it wasn't a book about finding the one, it was a book about finding yourself and you realizing that actually you can be the one, you can be your own one. So I wanted the idea to be I'm muddling my answer now. I wanted the idea to be all about finding the one, but the one is like staring at you in the mirror. It's not actually your typical one. So I always set out to do something slightly different and unexpected, almost. And I really wanted to write a book that had a twist, and I thought that would be a really good twist. And I wanted the twist to come at the start.
Yes.
So hopefully that came across. And I don't know how many people saw. People know. People read the jacket of the book and they know what it's about. So maybe they're expecting that to happen at the end of the first chapter. But I wanted it to hit them with a bit of a thud.
I think it does. I think it's still, because it's such a horrifying sort of idea, even though you know what's coming, you just think, how is he going to get her? Like, what are the sort of mechanics of getting somebody onto a reality show without them knowing? Like, it's really brutal, isn't it?
It is brutal, and I was a bit worried. I don't have experience of working in reality TV or anything, so I had to sort of obviously do my research and try and work out the sort of behind the scenes and what it might look like. I watched a bit of that show Unreal to try and get some inspo there. But I was worried when I was writing, like, oh, what if a Love Island or a Big Brother producer comes along and says, this isn't how it works, that's absolutely rubbish. But I had to, to work.
You just wave the fiction flag.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Wait up.
Just poetic license. It's just my imagination. But then I spoke to Helen Lederer the other day on Instagram Live for Comedy Women in Print. That channel, and I totally forgot she was on Celebrity Big Brother.
Yes, of course.
And I didn't watch that one actually, so I totally forgot, which I felt quite bad about. But that was great to talk to her, because she was sort of the first person I came across who really had that experience of being on reality TV and what it was like and how lonely it was. So that was interesting.
I remember going into the Big Brother house a few times when I worked for Heat magazine as press, to kind of have a look around the house before.
What was it like?
It was so small. Like,
really?
that was the thing. Within about 20 minutes of being in there, I felt like I was claustrophobic and I wanted to get out. And it was really hot in there, and it was really like, felt really airless, and maybe they hadn't turned on the aircon yet, I don't know, so we were only press.
It's
But it was fascinating, but I couldn't imagine anything worse than being stuck in there.
Oh, I couldn't imagine anything worse. Like, I would hate to go on a cruise, like a long cruise,
Same.
because I would feel really trapped. Like, I love a day on a boat, or a couple of nights on a boat, or something. But a long cruise, again, just being in that, and a cruise ship is massive.
Yeah.
But no, I wonder, like, do they make? It would be fascinating to talk to the producer on it. But I wonder if they purposefully almost make it slightly claustrophobic and turn the heat up and stuff, because it gets people,
make people uncomfortable and push them into
I'm sure they wouldn't do anything that evil.
No, you'd have to be so hungry for the fame, and quite comfortable, I suppose. But going back to sort of momentous things being catalysts for positive change, have you ever had anything in your life that's sort of the bottom's dropped out and then actually you've landed in a much nicer place than you were in before?
Yeah, very much so. And I've spoken about it recently in a few interviews I've given. But when I was 29, I got married to a guy who I'd been with for 4 years. And I'd always felt, I just had this like niggling feeling that there was just, the relationship wasn't right and he wasn't right for me. But I got swept up in the whole, all my friends are getting married. Some of them are on their second kids. I'm 29, I don't have time, I'm running out, this is a race. And so I got married to him, and I knew walking down the aisle, I was like, 50-50, this marriage is going to work, I think. And then I left him 6 months later.
Wow.
Yeah, so it actually, rather than like the marriage, I thought maybe, possibly maybe getting married might bring us closer together and fix these like fundamental problems we have, but it didn't. It actually made them worse. So yeah, I left after 6 months. My whole life was turned upside down. I moved from having lived with him for years to living in a flat share, hadn't flatted with people for a long time. And again, I was like hitting 30 and I was like, I'm such a failure. When I was 17, I thought I'm going to have, by the age of 30, I'm going to be married, I'm going to have 3 kids, I'm going to be a lawyer in London, I'm going to own a house. And I had none of that. I was a 29-year-old divorcee working in advertising as a copywriter. Didn't own a house at all, just didn't even own a room. And so, but actually, and although it felt like rock bottom at the time, and there were times when I thought, what have I done? Like maybe I just should have carried on in this relationship, just to not save face, but just to like get some of those goals at least ticked. But actually looking back, it was the best thing I could have done. And I'm almost pleased that I went through the marriage, because it was like a catalyst for, it was like a wake-up call, thinking, well, the next stage is children, and I really don't want to have children with this guy. So so then I went through a whole period of being I dated another person for a while, but then I decided to just actually become single, and it was so freeing and so liberating. And I'd run away from being single for such a long time. And for some reason, I was just really terrified of it, that, if I wasn't in a relationship, or if I didn't have a man in my life, then I wasn't worthy. And then I realized when I was single how great this was, and actually just living life on my own terms, not having to check in with someone, and getting just my own routine together. I was so much more confident actually out of a relationship than I was in a relationship, or any relationship that I'd been in. So that was a huge, it seemed like a terrible thing to happen, but it was the most positive thing that could have happened in my life. And it's the reason why I'm here now. So, and happily married to my husband, Chris. So I think that was definitely one of those lessons where actually, divorce isn't a failure. It's an absolute fix, and was a huge fix in my life.
Definitely. And sometimes when you fear something a lot, when you actually go through it and you survive, like you say, it builds up your confidence, and you think, my gut was right, my instincts were right. And I think we all have one big lesson in our lives where we learn to trust our guts. And I often look at my sort of pile of books that I've written over the past 5 years, and I think I miss my ex-boyfriend, but then if I'd stayed with him, that pile wouldn't be there. I know that it wouldn't, because I would have put him first, and he was the kind of person that liked to be put first.
Yeah, amazing.
There wouldn't have been time for both, and I wouldn't be without my books. And the person that I am now, I don't think he'd even recognise. Personality-wise, it's so strange, but thank God.
Isn't it just? But I mean, it's wonderful to look back and just think, and also feel a bit of self-love that thank God you had the courage to action that and do something about it, and you were able to. So I mean, no, I feel it's one of the, it sounds, I never know whether it sounds in poor taste to say this, but I'm actually sort of proud of myself for like actually taking the steps to leave him and to
definitely
pursue that.
Definitely, because it is really scary, and a lot of people don't. A lot of people stay, and then they're miserable for years and years and years. And the ending is always, the longer you leave it, the worse it is going to be.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. And I thought 6 months, that's so embarrassing. But I didn't want 6 months to be 6 years. And then I've wasted 6 years of my life and trying to fix something that was unfixable.
Exactly.
So no, that was definitely a low point, and that was a catalyst for change. So
good. And you're much happier now.
Yeah, definitely.
We were talking just before the chat about publishing and what a crazy world publishing is, and how when you kind of, before you have a book published and you think you know the basics, like you get an agent, that agent helps you get a publishing deal, your book's published, la-di-da, you see yourself in the bookshop and it's all great and lovely. And there is so much more to it than that goes on around it, and the whirlwind of foreign rights, TV rights, interviews, like just all the anxieties and things that go with it. And I just wanted to ask you, because you're a debut and this is your first book, and obviously lockdown coming along at exactly the wrong time must have been tricky, but is there anything about the process that's really surprised you that you totally weren't expecting, in a good or a bad way? Oh, oh, hang on. Are you? Yeah. You think?
Yeah, sorry.
No,
I think I lost to ask the question.
Again.
Okay,
we're back. I'm going to ask you that question again.
Sorry, it was quite a long question as well.
It's doing the whole way phrasing thing. It's brilliant. It's like really slowed down rave dancing sometimes on Zoom, isn't it? I was just asking if there's anything surprising about the publishing process that you've discovered. It could be good or bad, just something that's completely come along and swiped you. And you think, what? Hang on a minute, I wasn't expecting that.
In a good way, I suppose well, I mean, every email I get from my publisher or my agent is a surprise, because I'm still at the stage of sort of, what is life? I can't believe this is happening to me. This is awesome. But I would say, I think one of the most surprising things about the whole process is just the amount of, particularly in my experience, is the amount of effort that goes into getting a book on the shelf, and all of the team members involved. And I didn't realize it would be I'd be talking to so many people who were experts in the marketing of a book, or the sales of a book, or obviously the editing and that kind of thing. So I think what's floored me is just like how this incredible team comes together, and they have this vision, and they're so imaginative, and they come up with these ideas for getting the message out there or promoting it that I would never have imagined, like dreamt of myself, and they're just so brilliant. So really, it's what's come to me is just, it's such a, writing a book and getting a book on the shelves and marketing, it's such a team effort. It takes a lot more than one person to do it. So I think I've just been amazed by the support, and also amazed by this is going to sound quite tragic, but just amazed by the kindness that I've seen from that team who've been helping me get the shelf to market. I come from an industry where the people I work with, not my co-workers, but sort of some of the clients I work for, can be quite brutal in their feedback and very demanding and things like that. So it's really lovely and refreshing to come and work with people who actually are so supportive and appreciative of what you do, and sort of really big you up and stuff, which is brilliant, because I'm not the world's most confident writer by any stretch, but they've managed to boost my confidence and just make me feel like, oh, actually maybe I can do this, because I suffer from terrible imposter syndrome. But since working with the whole team and what they say about the shelf, they're really kind, and I think they're helping me handle that for sure. So I think
commonality. Many readers have imposter syndrome. Even the sort of names right at the top of the bestseller list have those same anxieties. I think it's just a natural of a creative person to be like, I made this, but you don't have to like it, but please do like it. I'm quite proud of it, but I don't want to tell anyone that I'm proud of it.
I know, and I keep on saying to people who like, you know, some friends even from sort of old school days will text me. It's like, oh, I bought the shelf, and it's like, oh, you know, you don't have to. It's not Shakespeare.
Yeah,
like, it's not that good.
You're apologetic.
So apologetic. I'm terrible at starting every sentence with, "Oh, sorry, I need to work on that."
I know, it doesn't get any easier.
Yeah, I know. Oh, well, I just submitted, when I first submitted my manuscript for the next book that's coming out next springish. The anxiety is dreadful. I mean, I submitted it in the morning, I think, and I couldn't do anything else for the rest of the day. So I was thinking, oh, well, maybe I should have changed that. Maybe I should have changed that. Oh, they're going to hate it. I'm useless. I'm a one-hit wonder.
Not true. Can you tell us anything about the new book? A little sneaky.
Yeah, I can tell you a little sneaky. It's called The Couple, and it's out, yeah, like I said, sort of springish time next year. And it's a story about a post-relationship world where couples are a taboo, and it's the norm to be single.
Oh, wow.
So anyone who might be in a relationship is kind of looked at with a sort of one eyebrow raised. And two people meet and sparks fly, and it's whether they will risk everything to be together.
Oh wow, I love that.
In a world that doesn't welcome them.
Yeah, gosh. Yeah. I love these dystopian relationship things.
Yeah.
Very clever.
Yeah. Well, I love Black Mirror, so I'd love to be able to write something like that, but I'm trying to do sort of Black Mirror with light touch.
I was going to ask you, actually, my next question is about the humour, because I laughed out loud so many times at the shelf. It just really cracked me up in the best way, but also it was really, you know, heartfelt and just hugely relatable as well. But when it comes to the comedy stuff, do you sort of sit there cackling away at your desk? Do you crack yourself up? Or do you have like a beta reader who will tell you if you're funny or not?
No, my God, definitely not. I don't find myself funny at all. I just try, you know, I read and I watch quite a lot of light-hearted stuff. And I suppose maybe I absorb some of that humour. Like sometimes if I know I'm about to enter a chapter where it has to be really energetic and, you know, like fun, I will honestly like go and watch an episode of Parks and Recreation or something, or just something that makes me really laugh.
Yeah.
Like gets me in a silly mood. And then hopefully that kind of silly energy will transfer onto the page. So that's kind of what I do. But no, I definitely don't think I'm funny at all.
That's a really good tip, actually. In the same way that if you're sad and you want to feel sad, you want to kind of wallow, you go and put on like Everybody Hurts by R.E.M., don't you? And like,
oh God, that is the best wallowing song.
Yeah, it is the king of wallowers.
Yeah, or Nothing Compares to You by Sinead O'Connor. That's also a really good one.
Yeah, anything that Adele's ever written as well.
Yeah, in the same vein as well. Like if I know at the end of the shelf when I was coming up to some of those sort of speeches that were, you know, supposed to be sort of empowering, impactful emotionally. I would listen to a lot of sort of female power songs on Spotify and stuff. And stuff in the mood then, yeah. I think music and, you know, other stuff can, you know, it would be awful if you sort of somehow managed to not steal that kind of stuff. But I just think it really has an impact on my mood, and if I'm in that mood, then obviously the writing will reflect that. So that's kind of how I try and do that.
Definitely. We are a strange breed, aren't we, authors? The way we operate. Like, change our brains around.
I don't know if you're the same, but when I'm writing, I'm just I'm so in the zone. I don't hear anything around me.
Yeah.
And I can actually write anywhere. I'm quite good at writing on the train or on a bus, or I quite like writing in a cafe, because for some reason I find it easier to zone out when there's other stuff going on around me than if I'm sometimes just sitting alone.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
I think it might be from working in sort of busy London offices where you kind of
that's a good point,
to get that skill and be able to still work creatively in noisy spaces. So it's done us well, because I wrote the majority, I think, of my first 3 novels sitting at my desk at heat, like between doing pages, and at lunch hours and stuff.
I know the feeling.
And it's a very, very noisy office. Or it used to be, certainly when there was.
Oh, it must have been so wonderful to work at Heat. I mean, I was obsessed with Heat.
Yeah, in the heyday, in the Big Brother heyday, it was quite something. It felt like we were sort of all part of something really special and
You were
fun,
part of
which we
something
were.
really
Yeah.
special.
I was very lucky to be there, and it certainly shaped who I am. I think.
Yeah.
Like, definitely the way I kind of. There's always a funny. You can always find a funny.
Yeah.
But,
do you still write for them sometimes?
Yeah, occasionally. Look, less now that it's been lockdown, obviously, and everybody's working from home. But yeah. I think once you're part of the Heat family, you're part of the Heat family forever. So
Nice.
it does feel like, cut me and I'll bleed Heat still a little bit, which is nice. In a
That's
nice
so
way.
great.
We've reached the We've reached the
I'm
quick
quite
fire.
excited about this round.
Yes, this is my famous coconut shell. What used to be a
Where's
bird
it
feeder.
from? I'm so envious of all of your travels.
Oh, well, no, this is just from the garden centre. It used to have bird food.
You could have made something up.
There's nothing exciting going on here. But yeah, I do have a lot of weird stones and shells around the place as well
Oh, nice.
from my travels. But yeah, okay, question 1.
Okay.
Ooh. Favourite book character of all time and why? Oh, look at that. Amazing.
Yeah, that was a bit of an easy answer, but no, I don't want to think too much about it because it'll take ages. But no, Matilda is definitely up there as one of my favourite characters, just because she's so special and bookish and such a sweet person, but also like sweet but powerful. So
Yes.
yeah, I think that's
an answer. And you had a picture ready. That's
I
pretty
collect
impressive.
because I loved Roald Dahl as a child, so I collect Quentin Blake illustrations around my house.
Yeah, I loved it.
Another one underneath it as well, but I need to get framed.
Yeah. I used to love BFG, obsessed, even though it's really terrifying.
Yeah, I know. I never actually ended up watching the film because the animation scared me a bit.
Oh yeah, there's an animated one and then there's a new one, like a live action, which is very funny.
Oh really?
I would recommend that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's a great sequence at the end with corgis, gassy corgis is all I'll say. But it shouldn't be funny, but because I've got the humour of a teenage boy, I find it really funny.
I'll check it out.
Okay, question 2. Tell us a surprising fact about you.
This is like those team meetings at work.
Yeah. My name is Helly, and I can touch my nose with my toes.
I learned to play the trumpet until up to grade 7 level.
Oh, that is surprising. I love that. Yeah. Do you ever dabble still?
No, I've forgotten everything.
Oh dear, like me in the recorder.
Yeah, I had one humiliating story with the trumpet where, in fact, this was the last time I played and I never played since because it was so humiliating. I was at school, I was 17, and they found out that I played the trumpet because I'd sort of stopped lessons and I wanted to kind of quietly quit. And they made me play the last post. And they gave it to me last minute. And I stood up in front of the class. It was like our end of year. It was some huge service where there were hundreds of people. And I stood up and they made me play it. And I hadn't been able to practice because they threw it on me last minute. And I completely messed it up. And it's such an important piece, isn't it?
Quite hard. It must be quite hard to play.
Really hard to play.
Yeah.
I completely stuffed it up so badly that I just stopped playing halfway through and sat down and started crying.
Oh, bless you. That's really traumatic. No wonder you stopped.
Oh, I didn't play again after.
Oh no.
I'm not good at being in the spotlight. I'm a much more behind the scenes person.
Yeah.
And that was really traumatic. Yeah, and that was the last time I played. So I really went out on a high.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Question 3 is: do you believe in ghosts? And if so, why?
I do believe in ghosts because too many people have seen them for them all to be lying.
Yes. Yeah.
So no, I definitely believe in ghosts. I don't think I've got a sixth sense for them. I've never had a creepy encounter and I don't want one, even if it's supposed to be friendly. Good ghost story is my sister, when she was 2 years old, my mum was sitting with her in a room and she kept on pointing into the corner at an armchair and laughing. And my mum said to her, "What are you laughing at, Caroline?" And she goes, "That man there."
Oh no, that's just goosebumps straight away.
She was 2, so she wouldn't have been lying. She didn't know how to lie. My mum was like, run out.
I often think that, when you sort of wander around London, you just see some really eccentric people, and you just sort of think like, what are you wearing, or whatever you might think. I just think they're ghosts, and you just don't know.
No,
It could be from another
that
time.
gave me goosebumps as well. Hello. Sorry, my dog Milo's whining.
Oh,
hello.
Tell him there's just one more question to go. I've got dogs under my feet as well. My dog keeps walking to the chair and walking away, as in like, can we go out now? Can we go out now?
Oh, same. Yeah.
Poor dog. Ah, okay. No, we've done that. Sorry, I opened the same question again. That wasn't very clever of me. Okay. Oh, okay. Good one to finish on. One life mantra that you live by.
One life mantra that I live by.
One mantra, yeah.
Oh, that's a tricky one, Isabelle.
It's quite tricky, isn't it?
Yeah. I would say live life with you in your own style and with your own speed, at your own speed. I'd like to say that again. Live life with your own style and at your own speed, because it's not a race. And yeah, you just live life how you want to. Don't compare yourself to other people.
I love it.
Not to. It's easier said than done.
Yes, and that's actually ties in well with the shelf. I would have said that message of, you know, doing things when you want to do them, when you're ready to do them, not just because society, God bless it, thinks you should be.
Enjoy your freedom and travel as much as possible.
Yes, well, you know, I'm doing that.
I know. I love seeing
single traveller over here.
Yeah, Croatia looks amazing.
Oh,
and you came back just before lockdown.
Yes. I know. Two days before quarantine, I flew back.
Yeah.
I was lucky.
Oh, thank God. Yeah, really lucky.
Got stuck in New Zealand, didn't get stuck in Croatia. So
yeah,
I wouldn't have minded getting stuck in Croatia.
Yeah. Oh, I remember you got stuck in New Zealand as well. Beautiful. I mean, beautiful country.
Only for sort of 5 extra days. But yeah, they weren't my favourite 5 days that I've been in New Zealand.
Oh.
But, you know, if anywhere, I'd be completely living life as normal if I was in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'd rather be here talking to you. Right, well, thank you so much for being here. And if you're listening to this and watching this, go and buy the shelf, because it is absolutely brilliant, hilarious. It's original, it's funny, and it will make you think as well. It will teach you some life lessons. So yeah, perfect package.
Thank you so much, Isabelle. It's so great.
Congratulations with all the success of it, and I can't wait to see who is cast as Amy in the TV show.
Me too. I've thought about a few people, but we'll see.
All right, take care. Thank you.
Thanks,
bye everybody. Bye.